Hi, I'm Sam, your resident fantasy reader,
And I'm Morgan, your romance reader, and we welcome you to Just One More Page.
where it's never just one more page.
Welcome to the Chaos Show.
Sam, so
What?
I went to the library today to get some library books. And don't worry, I didn't check out any priest romance novels, okay? So if you don't know, I had checked out this spicy priest book. I took it out for the joke. Anyways, I'm pretty sure my dad saw it. Now I cannot look at him because it's awkward. But anyways, I went to the library today with my friend and checked out some books. And while we're heading back home, she was telling me about how she saw this book on TikTok and the book looked absolutely gorgeous. I had colored pages, not colored edges, but colored pages. There's one with black pages, one with pink pages and red pages. And I personally couldn't do it, Sam. I don't know about you, but that would give me the hugest headache.
What's the book?
So I don't really remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure you could probably just search it up on TikTok, look up colored pages and it would pop up. So I was looking at the video that she was showing me and I looked at the cover and I was like, that kind of looks like a dark romance. And so I was like, hey girly, that looks like a dark romance. And she was like, I like dark romances. And listen, I'm not here to judge anyone. If you want to read dark romance, go ahead, girly. Pop off. But I was just like, okay, because I was just a little bit surprised because the fact that my friend, she likes sweet romance. She likes a golden retriever boyfriend in a book. So it just surprised me that she was like, I like dark romance. But she turned to me and she's like, yeah, I like vampires and werewolves.
No.
And my
No.
That's not what dark romance is. I had to sit there and be like, okay, girly, let me tell you what dark romance is. Let me tell you about the haunting of Adeline. Let me tell you about some of the dark romances I've heard on TikTok. And I think afterwards she was a little traumatized, but she was like, maybe I'll see if there's a soft dark romance. I have read a couple of mafia romances. When I think dark romance, I think of haunting of Adeline. I think some crazy love story with stalkers and stuff like that. I guess could you say that book series we read, which was actually in Rostek's series, it was in the point of view of this serial killer and they were in love, that'd be a dark romance?
Yeah. I also think dark romance has to do with the intensity of the spice that's in it too, because there's romance with spicy scenes and then there's dark romance. And
have you ever read a dark romance?
No, I haven't. I tried to read I think the Haunting Adeline, was it that one? I can't remember. But I tried to read one of them and just the writing wasn't good to begin with, and I was just like, I can't do this. I'm not going to force my brain to try to comprehend everything that's going on, and I just kind of moved on from it.
I don't think I've read it fully. I think that I got to the first chapter, which I feel bad because I know that's a really popular book. I know that people are obsessed with it, and I'm just like, it's okay. It's okay. Which, by the way, I think that TikTok just catfishes everyone.
Oh, no, for sure.
With all their book choices.
Well, the amount of people I see on TikTok who are like, here's my DNF pile, and 90% of their DNF pile are TikTok books.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's weird what gets popular, and I'm trying to de-influence myself from TikTok and just go back to the old school way I find books, which is just roaming the internet until I find them.
There's been 3 book series that I picked up because of TikTok. One of them was Binding 13. You don't like it. I don't even like it. We both got it because I feel like we were influenced by TikTok.
Yes.
Or at least I was. To me, you were too. And then you made a video on TikTok being like, this book is not that great. And I literally was like, girly, it's not that good. It's not. And so I completely agree with you.
Yeah, but low-key, we're trying to become book influencers, but you can trust our opinion on books because
trust our opinion.
If we don't like something, you're gonna know we don't like it for sure.
We're gonna tell you the truth even if you don't want the truth, okay? We are here for the brutal honesty. I mean, there's been some books that we've read that other people have loved and we're like, yeah, Ali Hazelwood. I mean, not Ali Hazelwood. That we didn't say that.
No,
that did not come out of my mouth whatsoever.
No rinse and repeat storylines.
Although I did hear her newest book is kind of good. I don't know. I kind of want to read it. And look at me being influenced again by book talk. God No, I'm getting sucked back in, Sam.
Well, don't get it at Barnes and Noble because it's shiny.
Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna have to close my eyes and walk past it. I'm not gonna look at it.
Yeah, it's like bright and shiny and glossy. It's actually like really pretty, but I can't do it. No. Yeah, it is super pretty. I actually really like the Barnes and Noble edition.
Ma'am, when have you been in Barnes and Noble without me?
I haven't. I see it on TikTok and people like
okay.
showing it up. I haven't been to Barnes and Noble in like a year, I think.
I would be like, don't you dare cheat on me, Sam. Don't go to Barnes and Noble without me.
You go to Barnes and Noble without me all the time.
That's because I need to. By the way, for my birthday, my sister and me we're gonna go to the beach because she lives by the ocean, and she already got a book by Lucy Foley, the new book that just came out this week. I was like, why don't you save it so that way you have a book to read when we go to the beach in the morning? And she was like, okay, but I kind of want to read it. And I was like, girl, just read it. And then we can go to the bookstore when I'm there and get more books. Like, logically, that would make the most sense, right, Sam? Let's go get more books. By the way, I dream of the days that we can go book shopping again because I feel like whenever we're together, we go a little crazy.
Yeah, just a little bit. I've got not even like on a book buying ban. I'm just on a like spending ban right now because a whole bunch of stuff in our house is like broken down like one after the other, and it's not cheap stuff. So yeah, our TV just died all of a sudden. What was I watching? It doesn't even matter what I was watching. I was watching a movie and I looked down at my phone for a second and I look up and my TV is nothing but color and lines.
Oh my God.
So we just had to replace our TV. And then I had to replace my car because my other one was about to fall apart. And then we're about to replace our washing machine.
Oh my God.
Because, you know, things can't break down like one at a time, spread out over time. No, it all has to be all at once. And it has to be just before I get ready to leave for Vermont in a couple weeks. Derek is letting me buy what we need to buy for the podcast. And then I'm just kind of living off Kindle Unlimited, basically.
That is very important. You definitely need that. But talking about podcast books, do you want to talk about the book that we're reading this week?
Yeah.
We did something like we did last month where we're taking turns where each of us are choosing a book that is not necessarily a new release. And Sam chose the book that we read this week. Do you want to explain to our listeners what this book is and what the book is all about?
This week read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. So basically the gist of this is that Jen witnesses her son murder somebody, and then the next morning she wakes up and it's the day before the murder. She basically every day wakes up and it's a little bit further back and a little bit further back until she basically believes that she needs to solve the murder and stop her son from killing the person that she witnessed him killing. Basically it's like a reverse time travel murder mystery. Yeah. Which sounds weird, but I'll tell you what, was really, really good.
It was. You know, it wasn't exactly what I thought.
It wasn't what I thought it was going to be either.
Well, yeah. I thought that one, it was going to be like reliving the same day and day, like murder over and over and over again kind of thing, which doesn't help the fact that like I honestly just look at books and I say, you're pretty. I want you in my life. I don't really read the description of books. Sometimes I will even forget about the description of the books we choose for the podcast. And I'm like, is this what the book's about? So like I just kind of assumed that was going to be her reliving the murder over and over again, not realizing that it was going to be her once again going back in days, months, to even years in the past. Even though I thought this novel was obviously going in a different direction, I really did enjoy it. I felt like the novel was more, to be honest with you, a love story than solving crime. And you know, I love a good love story. Yeah. You know, I love my romance. I mean, if you cannot tell at the beginning of this podcast, I literally say I'm the romance reader. So the fact that this book wasn't all about mystery and crime and murder, but a little bit kind of a love story to the people in your life, to your children, to her husband, and I really love that. Now, I will say there were some twists and turns that I just felt weren't delivered right. And I also felt that sometimes the writing was a little bit funky, which I'll talk about in the spoiler section. Overall, I think I rated this book 4 stars because I really did enjoy it. The beginning of it was a little bit hard for me to get into. I'll be honest with you, the beginning of it, I was like, I don't know where this is going to go. But then it's one of the books that I think I finished this novel in 2 days because I enjoyed it that much.
I finished it about 2 days too. I think this is like the kind of book that honestly I wish we didn't read the description. You just kind of don't know what you're getting into when you go into it. And that's what I thought too about it, like being her reliving the murder over and over and over again. And so like if you're going into this book thinking it's just going to keep replaying the same scenes over and over and over again, it doesn't. So don't worry about that. I don't even think that's a spoiler. I think that's just a good like fair warning that like you don't have to keep reliving the past into the present repeatedly.
Did you like the fact that it wasn't the same day over and over again? Or did you like the fact that it was her going back in time?
I like that it was her going back in time because I like how what the author did was like she left little Easter eggs in the like future So as you were going back into the past, you were like, "Oh yeah, I remember them talking about this." And they're so quick. There's like you got to pay attention to the book because there are like really quick, fast moments that like characters make like offside comments, and then they become like bigger deals later on in the book, and you're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that. That makes so much more sense now." And then when I caught a couple of the twists, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I was, oh, and obviously we're not going to give it away, but there are some twists in this book, and you're just like, holy crap. There's a big piece of this book that I don't want to give away, but I really want to talk about that I think is super interesting. And like, it's a murder mystery. It's a time travel, it's a time travel murder mystery.
Yeah.
I guess is the best way to describe it.
Crazy upside down. But yeah, I really did enjoy it too, Sam. Let's go to our spoiler section because I obviously have things to say, and so do you. So if you've yet to read this novel, then please check out last week's novel that we discussed, which is The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center, who is one of my favorite writers of all time. I absolutely adore her. If you don't know who she is, you should go read her books because she's fantastic. If you have read the book or don't care to be spoiled, then please listen to us discuss this novel. So, Sam, can we like talk about the spoilers first? Because like, let's get it out in the open.
Which one? Which one? The fact that this book had nothing to do with her son murdering anybody? It had everything to do with the missing baby?
The missing baby and the husband?
And the husband, oh my god, the husband. I was like, what is going on, man? When the undercover cop, the Nicola, who was actually Andrea, and then the fact that the husband was, because I'm like, who the heck is Ryan? Like, we're listening to all of it, like, it's just like day zero minus whatever thousands of days we had. And then just Ryan. And I'm like, who the fuck is Ryan?
Like, I was like listening to an audiobook and I'd be like, Ryan. I'd be like, who are you? What? Like, oh, okay. The whole situation with Ryan, like, I love the fact that there was a plot twist that Ryan was really Kelly. Because, like, it made it seem like Kelly was Ryan's older brother, because I thought how it was going to play out was that Kelly was actually involved in everything. Kelly was really shady, and Kelly was Ryan's older brother, and Kelly got Ryan killed. Kelly felt bad about it, so he changed his life around. But instead, Kelly had already died in the past a while ago, and Ryan decided to take up this fake name because he thought that it would be easier for him to remember the name because it's someone obviously close to him. Like, the romantic part of me is like flipping dying. The fact that he was a fake person undercover trying to solve where this baby went, because the whole thing is that there's this crime ring where one side is stealing cars, the other side is selling drugs. And so he's going undercover trying to find this baby that was accidentally kidnapped. And he ends up finding out that her father, which that's another huge twist, that her father was involved. And when he goes to the office, he runs into her and he immediately falls in love with her. And he really decides after the case that he will stay undercover. I mean, not really working with those people, but he will give up being a police officer. He'll give up his life. He'll say goodbye to his mom, which, by the way, him crying about his mom destroyed me. And he will stay with her undercover because he loves her. And it pisses me off the fact that she was like, why didn't he tell me?
Yeah, bitch, because he was gonna die.
He's undercover. There's a reason it's called undercover, okay? It's undercover. But the fact that he tried his best to protect his family and it failed miserably, I was just like, that, Sam, I love that. But I really wish the twist was better. I wish that.
Well, I made the connection just before they revealed it.
Yeah, me too.
Like, as she was getting to the courthouse and everything, I was like, oh, Kelly is Ryan. I was like, oh my God. And then she was like, it's my husband. And I was like, yeah, bitch, I figured it out.
I wish that it was like presented in a different way. I wish it was more shocking. I wish it had been more of her being like, I don't know, catching him and be like, I know you killed Ryan. And he's like, I am Ryan.
Dun, dun,
like
dun.
That would have been better instead of, because I feel like a lot of this book, I don't know how about you feel about it, but I feel like a lot of this book is her just explaining everything instead of like showing. I guess, if that makes sense. Like, whenever she would like talk to the time traveler, or whenever she would talk to anyone, she'd be like, I'm explaining this. Or like whenever she would talk to Kelly, she would always be like, we have good banter. I'm like, but I want to see it. I want to see the good banter. I want to see you explain things to people. I want to see, I don't know, I wanted more dialogue.
It's definitely a lot more like internal dialogue, which I appreciate in the part that like we get some really good character development from Jen as she kind of like realizes all the little things she had been missing through her life because she was so focused on her career and stuff. And I'm kind of glad too that she kind of got to go backwards and almost like fix the relationship she had with Todd, her son, and just to realize like the fact that she really wasn't paying attention to him like he deserved. But I wish it was a little more show and not tell, because she'd be like, oh yeah, that the flood that happened in 2005, which I thought was super interesting that they made that like as an off the cuff comment, and then it became the fact that the father like destroyed evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot more like her being like, this happened and then this happened. And I feel like too, the way the writer was writing it was to make the small details more obvious to the reader by like just saying it instead of just letting us kind of like feel it out as it goes. It was more like, this is the detail you need to pay attention to. This is the detail you need to pay attention to because it comes back to you later on.
And I think you really got to pay attention to book. Like, I don't know how you felt about the ending of this novel, because the end of the novel, she goes all the way back before she even meets Ryan, or AKA Kelly, and she tells
Yeah.
Kelly / Ryan that they're stealing the car here where baby Eve is going to be taken, and she takes that away, and then she goes up to Ryan. She's like, "Oh, hey." He's like, "You're the one who gave us a tip off." And she's like, "I'll never tell you how." And I just hated that, Sam, because I
Yeah.
thought that it would have been cuter if there was more of a meet cute instead of her being like, "I'm going to make sure we meet," kind of thing. You know him, he's your husband. So if you go into the cafe that he's in the cafe, that would have been cute of them like doing a little meet cute.
Low key, take a napkin, slip the lottery numbers.
I mean, but then again, everyone would do that, but I wouldn't remember the lottery numbers.
Yeah, this is true. I would pick lottery. I would be like, go find the lottery numbers of like a certain date and then just try to commit those to memory. And then as I go backwards, just keep writing it down and giving it to Ryan / Kelly until the day that you go back forward. And then all of a sudden you're millionaires, you know?
What if you doing that ruin your relationship because of money?
Yeah, that's true. I hate time travel sometimes because it's just like, what are you going to mess up?
Yeah, exactly. Well, talking about time travel, the ending, not just her running into Ryan, is that Paulette, which is one of the side characters, who's kind of in the story, but not really. She wakes up and her son, Connor, has stabbed someone, and she realizes that she has gone back in time a day. I don't like that ending, Sam.
No, I didn't like that either. They should have left it alone. I was like, really? We're going to start this around again? But it also opens up for another book, too.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. But then again, if Paulette solves the crime and solves what happened, would it go back to her son and her husband going undercover?
You know, that's interesting. It's like, it would be like a back and forth. It's kind of like that movie where, and it's an older movie, so I don't even care that I'm giving up the spoiler, but it's like, if you hit this button, you'll get like $10 million, but a random set of people will die. But it's the people who got the button before are the ones who end up getting killed. It's like these people you'll never know. So the same idea, like every time the person figures it out, it goes back and it ping pongs back and forth. It's an interesting concept. If she writes another book with the Paulette side, I actually would want to read it to see what she decides to do with the ending of that one.
I'm also really disappointed that Jen didn't tell everyone who like the big bad person was, and he got away. She's like, "Well, I got my family, so it doesn't really matter to me that that cars are getting stolen and selling drugs. But I got my son and I got my husband, and that's all that matters to me." Do you think she's a little selfish for thinking that?
Yeah, a little bit, where she was like, well, criminals are going to be criminals, but my life is good, so have fun. It's like, what are you doing? And then I also thought it was interesting too that the missing baby was Cleo.
Yes, I had a feeling it was Cleo.
I never really kind of picked up on that until the end, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
But I thought that was really, really cute about no matter who she was, Todd fell in love with her. And I was like, oh, my romantic heart is dying. Oh my goodness. What would you have done if you were Jen?
Panic, cry.
You would have panicked?
Listen, every day you wake up and you're like way further into the past. Like, I would have like a full panic attack. At the beginning, she was very like panic attacky about it because it's like trippy that you're going back in time. And once she kind of like figured it out, she was like very chill about it until she was like, wait, what if I go back to when I was born? What's his face? The Adrian, the time travel guy, was like, well, we're going that direction either way. I was like, what the hell, man? But no, I would definitely be like in full panic mode.
I think I would panic too. And then I would be like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's write a list. Let's figure out why I'm going back in time. But I also would make a lot of changes. Also really like the fact that the more she went back in time, the more she realized how good her life was. And she's like, you don't realize like what it was like to be poor when you're wealthy now, and how the bed was harder and how this was smaller, but it was perfect at the time. And then she also talks about how her body looks different.
Yeah, she was like, I was a 10. I don't know why I was so hard on myself. I do that too. Like, I look back at my old pictures and stuff, and I'm like, why was I so hard on myself?
Because you don't see the way you look until things have passed. Honestly, I look at photos of myself and I'm like, wow, I'm a 10 now. I'm just kidding. How do you feel about Jen changing time? As an example, her saving her father from dying that day. Do you think that was the right thing for her to do? Do you think that she messed around with time too much?
I can understand the motivation behind it. It's kind of like they talk about the butterfly effect. If you like change one thing, it changes everything. But at the same time, could you honestly look your dad in the eye and know that he's going to die by something that could be prevented and still let it happen anyway? It wasn't like his heart just gave out. It wasn't like he was older and hospice and he was getting ready to go and it was just the end of his life. He died from a freak accident of an aortic aneurysm. If you looked at your father and knew that he was going to die by something that was 100% preventable, it would be very difficult to not try to prevent it, I believe.
She knew. She knew in the back of her head that
Yeah.
she was not going to let her dad die. I do want to say, though, when it was revealed that her dad was a part of everything, it's just crazy because, she really viewed her dad as like the stern person who really upheld the law. And then to find out he was a part of everything was just like, I felt like that was more of a twist than finding out that Ryan was really Kelly.
Well, here's my thing is that Jen talks herself up as being this like great lawyer that notices all these details, but then she realizes that the three biggest people in her life, she never noticed anything. She never noticed how Ryan slash Kelly, and this is confusing. I'm just gonna call him Ryan. How Ryan acted until she had to like relive it. She never realized how her actions were affecting her son until she had to relive it. She never realized how like sketchy her father was until she had to relive it. Like, I get that we are sometimes blind to what our loved ones do because they're our loved ones. But if you're chalking yourself up to this being this great lawyer who notices all these minor details about people and just knows how to pick apart personalities, and the three biggest people in your life you had no freaking clue about, that A, your son was depressed, B, your husband was an undercover cop, and C, your father was like the leader of this like car theft ring. What the heck? You never put like two and two together at all. It was never like, hey, where's my husband randomly going off to that's quote unquote work when he doesn't travel, doesn't have friends, doesn't do anything. Like, I would think my husband was having an affair if he was doing that crap. Like, come on.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, I'd probably be distracted because he kept bringing her food. I'd be like, "Ooh, Thai food? Okay, I forgot for the past hour. Oops, my bad."
All is forgiven.
I still like the book, and if there is a second one, I definitely do want to read it too. Do you have final thoughts about this novel, Sam?
I'm so glad we read this book because, like I said in the last podcast, this is one of those books that I like would pass by in Walmart or Barnes and Noble or Books a Million and be like, someday I want to read that book. And honestly, if it wasn't for this podcast, I probably never would have gotten to it. So I'm glad that we got to it. And it would have been like sitting on my shelf forever and ever. So I'm glad we read it. I'm glad we're doing this like TBR thing where we just like pick our books and stuff because it's forcing us to pull things off our TBR, and that's great. So I'm glad we read this. Solid like 4.2. I really enjoyed it, even with some of the issues I've had with it. I still think it was a really good book and a really interesting concept, and I feel like she did it as well as she could. And definitely, if she has another one like in this universe, I definitely want to read it.
Yeah, me too. I think that'd be really interesting. So, if you guys are curious, next week we're going to be discussing a novel called Six of Sorrows by Amanda Linsermere. This is a YA queer horror novel that follows Isabel. And so Isabel lives in a small town, and life as she knows it has completely changed. She has been inseparable with her five best friends who all share the same birthday, but due to a rift, loses everyone except Rule, who stayed friends with her. On their 16th birthday, Rule goes missing. After 3 days, she returns home, but she isn't the same person who once disappeared. Rule is sick and she doesn't remember what happened to her. The only good thing about this whole situation is the fact that Rule's disappearance has brought together the other girls all back together. Their sisterhood feels as strong as it was years ago. But when another one of them disappears, they all agree that they must all have something more in common than their birthdays. They feel it, something waiting for them, something that has came to claim them one by one. It's just a matter of time until they are each taken. If they don't save themselves, then who will? Dun dun dun. Anyways, if you guys like this podcast and would like to support us, please remember to rate us on Spotify, as it does help push our podcast out there. Also, remember to check out our other like socials. We also have a YouTube channel, Just More Page, and you can find our podcast anywhere else you stream a podcast. And Sam will tell you about the rest of our socials.
Okay, so if you think we are absolutely hilarious, which fun fact, my friends, we are. We do have a TikTok. It is Just More Page Podcast, and for all the pictures, stories, reels, threads, whatever I decide to post, we do have an Instagram, and it is Just More Page Official. So go ahead and check us out on there. Come slide into our DMs. Come follow us. It is the best way to, I guess, see what's coming up next. We love you all. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will talk to you all next Sunday.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.